Hey everybody, Richie here from Rocket Chronicles, and in today's video we're going to be looking at the inside fin fillets on this 54mm motor tube fin assembly that will be going into my Shifter-75mm Wildman Rocketry kit that I'm currently building. So let's look at this, and in the last video I had these tacked on, and in this video, as you can see, we got all three fin fillet sets complete. So let's take a look at some photos I shot just before this video that shows a close-up of these fin fillets, and it was pretty straightforward. What I did was I didn't think I could get all three of the sets done in the 20-minute time period that the epoxy works. Its pot life is about 18 to 22 minutes. So what I did was I mixed up a small batch, a medium-sized batch, and I did 2 sets, and that took me 14 minutes. And then I went ahead and mixed up a little small batch, and I finished off the final fin, both sides of it. So let's go down here on the mat and we can take a look at this. Okay, so they don't look 100% beautiful, but they don't have to look beautiful because they're going to be on the inside of the airframe. They just have to be 100% durable, and that they are. I mean, I'm really grabbing on that, and you can't move it or do anything to it. So they're on there nice and solid. And, working with this ProSet 175, 273 epoxy, which I promise I will do a video on that later, but I'm just kind of working out. It's going to have to be a voiceover because when I work with epoxy, I use a respirator, and because I'm in a confined space, even though I have a ventilation hood. And at the same time, I'm going to do like an epoxy safety thing, because I notice I see a lot of guys putting stuff on YouTube where they're working on stuff. And sometimes they're outside working with epoxy, but sometimes they're inside, and that's not good. So anyway, there's a lot of safety when it comes to working with epoxy. But as you can see, these came out really, really nice. And working with this epoxy, it gets a little stringers, like as you see right here, if the camera gets that, but not a big deal. There was a few places right here. I actually left this on here for the purpose of the video. At about the 2-hour mark after putting the epoxy on, I took an X-Acto knife and I scraped off any little excess. But I just wanted to show, like, there was one spot that I left on here where it didn't come out to the blue tape, and it left like a little ridge. Now, even though I left it on for the purpose of the video, it's going to be hard getting it off because now it's had like a 48-hour cure on this. So where are we moving to next with this? Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to be doing with this will be adding the Kevlar strap for the recovery harness. So let me show you what I'm going to do for that. And let me get my main airframe here. And if I can do this on camera without damaging anything, because I got all these cameras and lights. So this is our line for our rail guides. I don't know what rail guides I'm going to do yet, but as you can see, I also have it marked on the motor tube. So that's what it's going to do. It's going to slide in like that. So the next step will be to put on the Kevlar strap. And it's kind of hard to see maybe in the video, but the Kevlar strap, the centering ring is right here. And the Kevlar strap is going to start at this centering ring. So if we put, and again, this is very awkward doing this, but if we put that on there and we run it up, it'll be right about there. And you can see it will stick out about that much. Because this airframe is so small, I can get my hand inside of it, but my big sausage fingers are no way going to be able to like hook something onto this. So you want it to extend a little bit. And with that said, after that Kevlar strap goes on, the next thing will be to epoxy this motor tube in place. And I'm only going to be epoxying one ring. Now, what I will do is I will use these other rings to just mock up. I will be using these other rings to mock up. I'll set one on here, and I'll put one on this end before I slide it in and epoxy this all in there. And the reason I'm going to do that is this way the tube will be nice and straight. But this one will come back out, and this one will come back out after the epoxy has cured, and this one will be left in there. And I'll have, of course, the Kevlar strap. And the reason I'm doing that is because then what I'm going to do is, after this is epoxied in, I will then be doing the fin fillets where the fin goes through on the inside, and then I will be doing the outside main fin fillets that we all think of when we look at a rocket. And for those inside fillets on the top part, or the underside of the airframe, that will be Pro Set. But for the outside fillets, I'll be using this stuff. I'll be using Metalset. And this is aluminum filled epoxy or metal filled epoxy, and it's actually used for aircraft. I've used this before. This is awesome stuff to use on your outside fillets. Another thing, and I'll talk more about this, and I'll do a video on this stuff. I just wanted to show it right now. I'm not going to go in depth, but I can't use this when I'm waiting for the new stuff to come. I buy this from Sky Geek, which is an aviation site, but it's a two-part epoxy. Unfortunately, this has been around since like 2009, no, maybe 2012, and it's expired, and it's brand new. I forgot I had it. I never used it, but it's a two-part. You mix it up. I think it's a 1-to-1 ratio, and it's got a pretty good pot life. It's excellent for doing fillets. Okay, so enough about that. So after this is epoxied in and all the fillets are done, I am going to foam fill the cavity between the motor tube and the airframe. And to do that, and again, I'm not going to talk real in depth about it, but I'm going to be using this stuff right here. Now, I've never actually used this foam before. This I bought from Wildman, but it is, whoops, I'm holding it upside down. This is Public Missiles brand of foam, expanding foam. I've never used it before. I've always used stuff that I bought from either US Composites or Giant Leap. But let's go down here on the mat and look at what this stuff kind of looks like. And this is just, again, going to be a brief overview of this. So down here, this is what the stuff looks like. And I have these little syringes attached to it just to keep them separate. So these are 1 milliliter syringes, and let me just make sure my camera is focusing. So these are 1 milliliter syringes, and it's a 1-to-1 mix, and you can change the density of it. As you can see, you can change the density by adding a few drops of water. So let me get this straight now. This one was 1 milliliter, 2 milliliters, 1 milliliter of each part, a total of 2 milliliters and 2 drops of water. And this is what it expanded up to in this cup. This one is actually 4 milliliters. This is 2 milliliters of each part, and it only expanded this much, but this is a lot more denser. So if you add water to it, it expands more, but it's not as dense. Just to give you an idea, this expanded more with less amount of the two parts, but it's kind of soft. You can squeeze it. Okay, this one is very hard. Actually, I can get it out. This one is, I mean, it's extremely hard. If you can hear that, I'll So I want to achieve something that is not nowhere near as soft as this, but maybe a little less dense than this. So I'll bring these up here on the big camera. So that's what I want to achieve when I fill the cavity. So the reason I'm only epoxying one ring in is I want to fill down from the top, and I will cap it off with a ring up here. And of course, my Kevlar recovery harness going through there. And then down here, all of this section will all be filled in with epoxy right up to the aft centering ring here. And then, of course, the Aeropack retainer will go on and we'll move on. But I just wanted to show that that's the status where I'm at right now. And hey, hit like, hit subscribe. I'm harmless. You can come back to this channel and watch me continue on building this Wildman Shifter-75 millimeter, which is 3-inch rocket kit. And hopefully we'll fly this thing. Hopefully we'll fly it high. Thank you for watching and have a great day, everybody.